as you probably know, one of the most challenging things in your life is other people, because they're so difficult. People are so challenging. And for many people, one of their greatest sources of suffering or unhappiness, strangely enough, is other people. Sometimes, of course, it might be a situation, but it's usually every situation is associated with certain people. But of course, another source of unhappiness, of course, could be your physical body, which might become ill. That's a different matter. But yes, people are difficult. It's not surprising that Jean-Paul Sartre, the French philosopher, said, hell is other people. That's the ego talking, of course. Life could be so much nicer with all these dreadful people around. And of course, these are judgments. These are judgments of the mind. And the moment you encounter another human being, the moment you meet another human being, if you are trapped in the conditioned mind, you will very quickly have things to say about him or her. And the moment you have thought arising, you're imposing judgment, you can't really experience that human being anymore. And so that happens all the time when people meet others. But what would it be if I could meet another human being and just look into his or her eyes without making it too obvious? Even in ordinary situations, you go to a restaurant, you go to a shop, you buy something, you pay for it. There's a brief interaction with the person you give the money to. And in that, are you able to just look at this person for a few seconds while the transaction happens and be free of thinking? And there's suddenly a connection. There's no need to make it obvious. You don't go like... And you don't have to tell them, I'm connecting with you on a spiritual level. Because they'll go, what? They don't... But it's a beautiful thing to be able to just be spacious with another human being. It's easier with a dog, obviously, because the dog does not have the screen of mind that obscures that sense of presence or beingness in the dog, the consciousness of the dog. Humans usually have this screen of mental stuff, so it's not as easy to relate deeply. You have to penetrate the level of mind, which sometimes is not all that pleasant either, but it's looking at another human being and just like this, no thought. And it's always pleasant. It's a pleasant, suddenly you sense a connection and it's pleasant. But don't try that too soon. Start with a tree. Because there's nothing in the way. With a tree, there's no mind. The tree is an expression of consciousness, but the tree is very still. It's even stiller than the dog. The tree is just, it might have been there for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Some trees have been there for 1,000 years. And so you can look at the tree. And by looking means, we'll do more of that after the break, but just when you look at something, you give it your attention. And there's a tree. And you give it your complete attention. Just look at the totality of it, and then occasionally you look at little details. Just be with it and the totality of the tree. Without needing to impose any thought on it. You don't need to call it anything. You don't need to know the name in order to experience the tree. You don't need to know the name of the tree. Fine, there's nothing wrong with knowing the name of the tree. But the name of the tree can, if you're too attached to the name of the tree, can prevent you from experiencing the tree. And that is a very common thing. How the moment you name something, you think that's it. And then you don't realize there is a depth to that which the name obscures. The spiritual teacher Krishnamurti said to somebody, the moment you teach a child the name of the bird, he or she will never see that bird again. Slight exaggeration, of course he'll see that bird again, but what he means is the child will lose the deeper connectedness with the bird because the label, the mental label will be in the way, and the child will mistake the mental label for it. And so the mental label keeps you trapped on the surface of reality. And so very knowledgeable people, and there's nothing wrong with knowledge, but people, let's say people are very knowledgeable about nature, sometimes are so trapped in their knowledge, all they know is mental stuff about things. So they know a lot about the tree, but they never know the tree. You have two kinds of knowing. One is conceptual knowing through labels, and one is a deeper knowing through immediate perception through awareness. And then you sense something deeper in the tree that can never be known through conceptual knowledge. You connect with the tree on a deeper level, it becomes almost what I'm saying now. Conventionally, one would say, and if that dimension is missing from your life, you run around the surface of reality, never connecting with anything or anybody really deeply, never sensing your connectedness with other life forms, nature, animals, humans. So it's important to develop this ability to experience without imposing labels. So you can just be with the tree and look at it. You don't have to hug it, you can, but that's not necessary. If you want to hug it, it's fine. Because the touch can free you also from thinking, to take your attention into the sense of touch, yes. But all the senses are involved in that experience. And then the trees can then teach you stillness, because the tree is so still. But you have to tune in. You can't tune in with mental labels. You have to be there. And then there's an alertness there. And with that alertness, you not only perceive the tree, you sense the underlying consciousness of the tree, because ultimately it's the same consciousness that is the essence of who you are, but in a different manifestation, a different frequency level, so to speak. And then the tree can teach you to be still, and you become. But it's not the same stillness in you as the stillness of the tree, because the tree is a long way below thought. The stillness in you is above thought, but in there you meet the tree. You are above thought in presence, and the tree is long below thought in beingness, and you meet the tree, and then the tree can teach you to be still, and you can actually sense that the tree is just. Oh, that's the tree. The tree would be saying Om if it could speak, or continuously, because that's the rootedness of the tree. Is not only rooted in the soil, the tree is rooted in being and beingness, the source of life.